Okay, in conclusion, analysis time. Me personally looking at it, well, I don't know. I don't want to start trouble with anyone at all, really, but everyone could be said to be partially somewhat responsible. I mean, I could be partially somewhat responsible for the fact that, I'm giving ideas, and I mentioned at the table even, heck, who knows, you could end up rolling as a Repentia or something like that, and obviously it rolled from there. But obviously then the GM did give several other choices, but I came up with a solution that I thought would have fixed it, but as well, like a fourth solution to what the GM had said, but everyone was just shooting everything down at that point and wasn't going to look at it. But I'd still be hopeful that maybe there could be some sort of undo on that, perhaps, and maybe someone could say, well, okay, yeah, that you haven't gone in as a Repentian at all, and you have just done what Warhammer Fantasy would have done as a temporary career exit. It was like a prisoner tree. You have to spend the next, 1,000 experience from a special tree that's kind of prisonerish. Well, it wouldn't technically even be you wouldn't be a prisoner. There'd be extreme suspicion based on happenings from obviously behaviour at this session, helping Gix get away, but by not doing too much, not playing too much of a hand, but also the previous encounter with Malvanius where live ammunition was fired in his office. And I think that then comes a bit down to Laurie's fault for not making more of a thing of it at the time when it happened, really, because I think he was just trying to really pave over it and sort of like not have the game disrupted too much. But if he'd have made more of a thing of it, it could have made more sense to the players as to whether they should or should not try doing something like this to the Inquisitor. There'd be some responsibility there on Pete with his new character, his Psyker, because he very often just doesn't know what he's doing at the table and has to do a heck of a lot of querying and forgetting things, and all these things, I suppose, is building up stress in our GM Laurie, getting into a worse state, as it were. That state is then reflected onto the rest of the group, and we all sort of come under fire from him, or he's less able to operate in a manner that you would want to have out of your GM, i.e. shouting at the group, as I pointed out there. And obviously a lot of blame will rest on him too, because if he wanted Sophia pushed more for having to help get Gix get away, then I would conclude that he shouldn't have said that Gix has managed to get away so easily. Oh yeah, she'd be off the table now. Have it so that Sophie is forced to have to do more to protect Kisdeen, so that she has to play her hand, and so it would set Jerichus off, because he was having a go at me about whether Jerichus should be doing something at this point, and at this point, no. Just the fact that he was citing up the sister, who was potentially a threat, but still hadn't acted quite enough to be one, but was the most dangerous person in the room there, aside from the Inquisitor. The fact that he had her sighted up and locked down was enough. He was doing his part, basically, to just have her locked down. I mean, if Malvanius can't stop one single scum under his employ, then, what good is he anyway? But Jerichus was playing his part in that respect. And with Craig, with Sophia, I suppose you could say some of the difficulty there was him allowing himself to accept the Repentia position, especially given the fact that as the session went on, he then didn't enjoy it, as I knew he wouldn't anyway, but he kind of, I don't know why he did it. Just went along with it in the end. Maybe he just couldn't be asked. Maybe he doesn't want to play the system or the character anymore, or just couldn't be asked with Laurie, or maybe he just didn't want to. Maybe he just didn't wanted to show Laurie, if you want to create a bad time, this is what a bad time looks like, and sort of like punish him in some way. I have no idea. I can only speculate, to be honest with you. But the clever money would have been on still trying to talk it through rather than just accepting something you're going to hate, because ultimately that's going to be bad for the whole group, isn't it? And he must clearly hate it, because he tried, as the module went on, tried acting in a way that was, well, purposely disruptive for at least his own character, but potentially for the for the entire mission, and she can just even stated at the table, if I'd have wanted to play it, I'd have asked to play a Repentia. So you shouldn't really end up having to play that. And of course, she'd only would have really been away for lockdown and potential re-cleansing and monitoring for maybe 4 months or something back at the sisters' holy order place, wherever they go. In that time, it wouldn't really even be prison. It would be just a sort of solitary, a sort of confined space, as it were. They would have had her living in. She could have gained maybe some more skills from doing that, unique opportunities perhaps. But it would have been, the only thing I would say on Jez, who plays Kizdeen himself, it was a great idea, Kizdeen doing that and trying to leave the group. But I suppose querying the GM so much, sort of like second guessing his calls. But it was just decided, well, he's going to want to win anyway, so just let him at that point. But even Laurie doesn't help matters, even himself, because him saying yeah, and by the way, Craig's right. That's the third thing. You remember that in the footage there. So I suppose we've got used to having to try and query some things. I suppose it boils down to the fact that Laurie maybe isn't very comfortable in GMing this system, and maybe he's just not the right temperament and suitability to GM, period. So there could be some issues there. I mean, we know that Craig is going to be GMing Rogue Trader coming up. I'm sure that Laurie probably wouldn't be against the idea of him taking the Heresy campaign off his hands and trying to work with it, especially if Craig's now got a sister that he doesn't feel right with, or maybe he could play as an NPC GM. But it could have all turned out a lot better. But I'm interested in your comments below on what you think of the whole situation just generally. How could that have been avoided, that bad time we were having? Thanks for tuning in again, guys. I'll see ya.